beautiful Mandalay Bay Resort in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Sean Ray, 13-time Mr. Olympia competitor. Mr. Olympia is the ultimate title for the ultimate bodybuilder. Of the thousands of athletes working their way up the ranks in bodybuilding each year, very few make it this far. This year, 21 international champions vie for the Mr. Olympia title and the grand prize of over $350,000. We're talking high-stakes competition here. Remember, bodybuilding is more than just hard work and gritty determination. Bodybuilding is a science with a strict regime of diet, nutrition, supplementation, and exercise. It's about body size, symmetry, and muscle definition, but it's also about choreography and downright showmanship. Cheered on by a crowd of 7,000 excited fans, these guys will perform. It's the biggest bodybuilding event in the world, and I can assure you the audience will get their money's worth. When these titans enter center stage here at the Mandalay Bay, it's because they stuck with it for years. These guys are tough. They're the best in the world. Let's look at a few basic concepts about how these athletes are judged. There are 4 rounds in this competition, each focusing on specific aspects of the athlete's physique. In round 1, the judges look at the overall symmetry of the body. While the athletes make various quarter turns on stage, this is called the symmetry round. In round 2, it's the muscularity round. Here, each competitor goes through the mandatory routine of 7 poses. There is no room for individual style in this round. Round 3 consists of the individual posing routine. This is where the athletes can design their own routine to their own music. We often see a lot of showmanship in this routine round. And finally, round 4. This is the pose down. This is where the top 6 athletes come together so the judges can take one final look at their comparisons together. Here's the current standings coming out of the first 2 rounds of competition. Of course, just like in golf, the lower the score, the better. While 3-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman has firmly earned his place in the annals of Olympia champions, he is up against a fierce competition this year. Jay Cutler has kept a low profile until now, but to everyone's surprise, he's ahead of Ronnie Coleman in the preliminary rounds. And our first competitor of the evening, in the Mandalay Bay, a record crowd of over 7,000 people, and the 3-time defending world champion Ronnie Coleman.
Every year, I try to do something different because I don't want to be the same year after year after year. Last year, I was big and not as cut and defined. This year, I'm probably going to be big and I'll be a whole lot more defined. And my symmetry is a whole lot better because I was able to shave 3 inches off my waist.
Weighing in at 264 pounds, going for title number 4 in a row. Ronnie Coleman knows right now, at this moment in the competition, he is trailing by 6 points to Jay Cutler. I might add that no for this moment in time, and we are now down to 10 of the best bodybuilders on the planet Earth. Not in the city, not in the state, not in the country. These are the top 10 physiques around the world. It boils down to this, and here we go with the announcements.
The 10th place finisher, King Kamali.
And it's King Kamali in his first Mr. Olympia coming in at 10th place, which automatically qualifies him for next year's Mr. Olympia. Happy to be there, trying to quiet down the boos. It's expected that every placement will get booed because everybody has their own legion of fans. But King Kamali being very gentlemanly-like, thanking the crowd, thanking the judges, and taking his 10th place in stride.
The 9th place finisher, Nasser El Sambate.
A big disappointment for Nasser El Sambate out of San Diego, taking his 9th place like a true gentleman that he is, but he's certainly unhappy about his finish here tonight.
Nasser El Sambate, 9th place. And presented to the 8th place finisher, Dexter Jackson.
And coming in at 8th place, Dexter Jackson, the Blade, at 225 pounds. He's got to be happy with that. Qualifies for next year's Mr. Olympia. Can't be nothing but happy by at least maintaining a level of excellence here tonight.
And presented to the 7th place finisher, Dennis James.
And all the way from Thailand, Dennis James moving up into the top 10 spot. Dennis James, a future force to be reckoned with in the top 6 in the Mr. Olympia competition. Just barely missing by 1 place.
Will the stage officials please let the music
And with one deep breath, the bodybuilders gather themselves for the pose down. Ronnie Coleman, Mr. Olympia, taking center stage. If nothing else, this is what every athlete lifting weights around the world that competes lives for. It may look a little anticlimactic right now, but pretty soon somebody's going to have to break out of the pack. Ronnie Coleman knows he's trailing by 6 points going into this pose down. Jay Cutler, who's in second, wants to win this contest. He's going to have to fire out of the chute. Most of the guys, all of their energy is spent. Orville Burke trying to get in the middle there. He's never been in this situation, never been on the Olympia stage. Chris isn't going to give. Ronnie's not going to give. These are 265-pound monsters trying to push each other around. The guys that have the advantage here are the veterans. Kevin Levrone is always taking his time at whatever poses he's going to do. Jay Cutler finds himself in a very unfamiliar position, standing next to Ronnie Coleman, trying to go pose for pose. And then again, the stage really isn't big enough for these 6 athletes. Somebody's going to have to make a move and break out of the pack to separate themselves from the masses. An individual pose down with Chris and Jay Cutler taking place. I'm staying put. I'm going to stand right next to Ronnie Coleman and try to go pose to pose. Apples and oranges is what he calls himself and myself. But I got to stand in there and hold my ground. Oh, Ronnie Coleman jumps off the stage and goes into the crowd, and he's followed by Chris Cormier. But it looks like all the athletes are now going down into the audience. This has never happened at a Mr. Olympia contest in its 36-year history. Right now, with Ronnie Coleman out there leading the charge, all the athletes are eventually going to have to go out there and follow him. He's the champ. This is something the fans did not bargain for. They didn't know this was going to happen. Unscripted, certainly appreciative, as Ronnie Coleman actually touches one of the fans in the audience, something that's never been done before. We're in a pose down, and no bodybuilders are on the stage. Kevin Levrone up in the rafters. The athletes are just right on top of him right now, taking pictures and smiling. He's begging for more. Uh-oh, who's that? Shy and reserved. I've never been off the stage in my life, so I guess once Ronnie Coleman and Chris Cormier decided I had to do it, and it actually feels pretty good to be out there close to the fans that fly in from all over the world, from Japan and Germany. How's that? In your face. That was for Chris Cormier. And this is definitely a plus for the sport of bodybuilding, for the fans to get this close to the action. Jay Cutler's actually signaling out fans to direct their cameras towards him. And there's Chris Cormier showing his appreciation. Cameras all over the place. When physical TV comes back, we'll have more on the classic competition. This is the moment that the athletes have worked so hard for.
Presented to the 6th place finisher, Orville Burke.
And Orville Burke comes in 6th place after getting 10th place last year. He finds himself in an unfamiliar situation as one of the top 6 bodybuilders in the world. And here's Orville Burke for the first time in 6th place out of New York as one of the premier bodybuilders in the world of bodybuilding.
Presented to the 5th place finisher, Chris Cormier.
And the real deal out of Venice Beach, California, pulls in the 5th place spot and $30,000 being presented to him by Kerry Kays of Dorian Yates Approved Nutrition. And there's big Paul Dillette, also a fellow professional bodybuilder. Chris Cormier has nothing to be ashamed of. Pro Ironman champion, 2nd in the Arnold Classic. Australian champion Chris Cormier, 5th place, $30,000 richer after a 1-year sabbatical from the Mr. Olympia.
Presented to the 4th place finisher, Sean Ray.
In 4th place, a repeat of last year's Mr. Olympia, me, Sean Ray, $35,000 for the effort, being awarded by Jeff Everson, former editor of Muscle and Fitness. 4th place, and I am definitely happy about that for a repeat performance of last year. And now there can be only 3. Kevin Levrone finds himself in a familiar position. Ronnie Coleman's been there before, and Jay Cutler, out of nowhere, comes into the top 3 after placing 8th place 1 year ago and not even in the top 10 2 years ago. And Kevin Levrone in 3rd place, $40,000 richer. Looks pretty happy with his placement here. A lot of noise was made at the press conference, but certainly a happy camper here tonight. The 3rd best bodybuilder on the planet in the year 2001. Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine.
We'll be right back with the winner.
And now we come to the payoff. Ronnie Coleman has to be a little bit nervous, even though he looks confident. And Jay Cutler, hoping that it is his name as the last one standing as the awards are about to be presented. There's $50,000 difference between 1st place and 2nd place. In the moment of truth, Ronnie Coleman, 4-time Mr. Olympia. Jay Cutler, 1st-time runner-up and $60,000 richer. As Ronnie Coleman, known for his trademark dropping to his knees for the 4th consecutive year, Jay Cutler receives the silver medallion, the $60,000 prize money. Jay Cutler, admirable, gallant fight all the way to the finish for the 4th year in a row. The policeman out of Arlington, Texas, Ronnie Coleman, as Jay Cutler has to wonder what he has to do to upset the champion. And for Physical TV here at Fox Sports Net, I'm Sean Ray. Thanks for joining us.
You've been watching Physical TV's coverage of the 2001 Mr. Olympia from the Mandalay Bay Resort in Las Vegas on Fox Sports